Good morning, everyone. Episode 1527. What do real estate agents buy? Mark and I are going to be unpacking this for you this morning. Stay tuned. It won't let me run the pre roll.
I'm the ringleader, so listen up.
Morning, Mr. Novak.
Morning, Mr. Wapshot. How are you?
Yeah, fantastic. Fantastic. Another beautiful week. Weather's good, and unpacking a topic that I thought would be very interesting for the viewers out there. What is someone like yourself, 30 years in the game, real estate, principal of Novak Properties? I'm sure people would love to pick at your brain and see where you see value and where you like to invest your money when it comes to property.
But they don't.
And why is that?
I've got no idea. Like, isn't that the most powerful question for a buyer to ask a realtor or a real estate agent or whatever you want to call us? Like, isn't that just the bomb question?
Oh, totally, totally. I think it's like, we sort of all made it an equivalent to saying, a stockbroker giving you a good stock tip. It's like generally if you're going to go to someone for that information, it's someone in the game. So I thought, yeah, it's quite an interesting simulation between the both.
Maybe buyers think that we are biased, BIAS, in our answer. Maybe they think we're just telling them what we want to tell them rather than truth.
Mm.
But I think that question is like this is a person that generally is an ambassador of property. They are across everything on the market, and I think if you ask any real estate agent what would they buy with their own money, that's a super powerful question.
Oh, it is huge, huge, because obviously you come across so many opportunities in stock every day for you to pick something and go, hey, I'm going to go buy that. It must be, it must be either a no-brainer or too good to miss out on.
Is it a question that allows you to actually step out of your selling zone and answer it honestly? Like, and what I mean by that is would I be, if someone said to me, Mark, what would you buy with your own money? I know I'm selling at any one time, 5 or 10 properties, or the agency is selling 80 properties. I wouldn't necessarily tell someone this is the property I would buy that we actually have. I would actually, if there was another good buy in the marketplace that I'd eye off, I'd probably tell them that as well.
Definitely, yeah. Well, I think, yeah, I think it's a real big thing there in regards to what you would pick. And I find answering your earlier question, I probably still sell it because I sell it to myself. When you go through making these decisions, you put yourself in the buyer's shoes, and you're almost talking back to yourself, where you've got those questions
Yeah.
of where do you see the market, positioning wise, how many in the block. You bring up all those answers to yourself when you're making such a big commitment like this, and then you find through your expertise, knowledge, experience, you're able to answer those questions yourself. So I actually find, like, when I'm looking for something, I end up selling it to myself, but I sell to myself the way do I
That's true.
sell to everyone on the street, is just honesty and information. So you go and gather all the information and Bob's your uncle, so to speak. But yeah, I end up selling it to myself, just because obviously the way I sell to myself is how I would sell to the public. So generally just get to that end conclusion.
Do you see a pattern in the office? So in the office, we've got 46, 48 real estate agents. Do you see a pattern of what we buy that you can recommend to the people that are watching today? as a group?
I actually find it harder. Upstairs in the office, being around it every day. Probably one of the big ones is that I'd like to bring up is off the plan. I think a lot of people in the office, if you've worked in real estate, 12, over 12, 24 months, you'll be able to see that, the success stories through the offices, or through the office in regards to off the plan. Not only do you see have they, witness clients do well, but actually a lot of the office gets involved in a lot of this off the plan stuff. Whether it be residential or commercial, we've actually had a mix of both. So I'm sure you guys would have heard about the Rodborough Road, the 7 Rodborough Road, Frenchs Forest, most exchanges under one roof. We had multiple people from upstairs, whether it be from sales, property management, friends and family, whether it be a warehouse or something small like a storage unit. I think once we unpack all the information and everyone's quite open to each other in the office upstairs. So I think everyone wants to see everyone do well, especially in your own office. So I think you know you brought it to everyone's attention. So we've got that one as a commercial example, and then I think another big one is the Casa del Mar family for you, your daughter, buying one in there. Billy, myself, I think Tina's bought one in there. So we've got nearly 5-6 staff out of that 46 that are actively buying, and I'd say 80% of the time it's generally off the plan stuff.
It is, yeah. Like, by the way, it's okay to buy your own stock as a real estate agent. People out of the industry may go, "Oh God, is that all right?" As long as it's fully disclosed, it's okay to purchase through a seller in our office, and it gets put into the contract that it's one of our team that's buying the property. I think that, look, the big thing out of today, that what real estate agents are buying with their own money, and Josh and I were talking off air, like, what's Mark bought over the years, and what's Lisa bought over the years, and is there a pattern that a buyer can follow? Because if a long-standing real estate agent in the area is doing something with their own money, not a bad punt to follow into that one. And just to answer that, like, I've actually always enjoyed small bites, but regular bites when buying property. So rather than the big multiple income sort of properties, I've always actually chased the stuff that's been easy to purchase, easy to finance, easy to rent, strata. That's sort of the pattern that I followed, and then kept never actually sold. So I remember, I heard through Tom Panos training, it's time in the market, not timing the market. So with buying the small stuff, it was actually easy to keep in hard times as well. So it didn't actually rock my world where it was such a juggernaut that I sold it, and it was stressing it out. It's always been little stuff that's been through hard times, and easy times, very easy to maintain and hold.
Yeah, well, a couple of really good nuggets in there, Mark, especially about, probably just biting at the little stuff so when the tough times do come round that you don't end up losing it all. Any other big, obviously you've got the experience, any other, like, what were probably the hardest things in, one, building a portfolio, two, a little bit more into the selection of what you're picking, like what are you looking for? I've heard stories that you sometimes you do pick the worst one in the block, well, or ones with high strata levies, because you see that as an opportunity. Maybe elaborate a little bit more on that for the viewers.
Yeah, look, I think I've always been a fan of when everyone zigs that you zag. I think there's value there, because I think once everyone's gone and run on and gone bull rush on that item, it's sort of done its dough, it's done its gain. So I've always looked for I was going to say Antichrist, that's probably not right, but I've always looked for the opposite to, where everyone's running. And, I think people have often been really affectionate towards houses because they're houses, and I've always like, no, let's go unit. What you've just brought up there, I think you're referring to is um, one of my kids bought a property that was in a very high levy strata scheme. So there was about 30 or 40 grand of unexplained levies. They hadn't gotten to the bottom of the 30 or 40 grand, exactly what needed to be done and what didn't need to be done. And then the occupant wanted to actually rent at a low rent for 3 years. And that turned off a lot of buyers because the occupants wanted to take the sale proceeds, but they still wanted to stay where they were living. So it turned off a lot of first home buyers. So in particular with my daughter, I could see the value in that price because I was like, yeah, look, the strata levy is going to be tax deductible, and the lower rent, yes, that's a more tax deductions as well. But as long as you're buying it for the right price, it's relative, and she did. So, point of the story is today, what a real estate agent's buying. There's an example there. When everyone's zigging, we're zagging. And then don't be scared off on stuff like that when the overall picture is actually okay.
Yeah, definitely, and I think that sort of circles back to a bit of a stigma behind off the plan, where people have got all those horror
Yeah.
stories from 20 years ago, but the amount of
Goodbye.
new legislation that's coming, guys, it is there to protect you. And they've got those sunset clauses and all. They've been heavily scrutinized. You've got new bonds that builders have put aside for the insurance period. Mark, any others that you can think of really big changes you've seen in your career for off the plan?
Yeah, look, good. Another good point. That's another one where everyone zigs, you zag. So people of the mere mortals have been turned off the plan, or scared from it, intimidated by it, not right, unorthodox. And I've been like looking at it thinking, yeah, that's a good reason to buy, just because everyone's turned off. Everyone's zigged, we zagged. So I think that there's extreme value in a lot of off the plan in areas where there's low supply. I wouldn't go to areas like out west, because if you look at their 10-year growth, it's a shocker. But I'd stick to areas where there's low supply of properties. So North Shore, eastern suburbs, northern beaches.
Definitely. Yeah, that's great. And then yeah, I think also with off the plan, guys, you've got to consider, something we'll probably bring up in a next topic is just your building costs is ever
Oh,
growing and continuing to
oh,
grow. And as much as they
wow.
put out these policies to try and build further supply, I feel like we've heard 2 applications over that LMR on the northern beaches, so not too much happening. I think building costs is going to be the killer of supply, meaning that our market, especially with these first home
Yeah.
buyer benefits and all the stimulus behind it, we're in for a pretty good next 12 to 24 months, fingers crossed, and let's hope
Yep.
interest rates stay on the way down.
Yep. Absolutely. Don't forget, on the back of what Josh just said, and I want to go out on this one, you work it out, guys. If a 1, 2, or 3 bedroom unit is costing 700 grand in Sydney, how the hell are you going to deliver a unit that's economically okay to buy? So the supply is going to be very low on the back of that. What I just said about building costs, that's the facts.
Very important, guys. Very, very important, because these developers take on massive risks, many things can go wrong. So there needs to be enough of a margin in there. And with these ever growing costs and property skyrocketing, that margin doesn't seem to be there anymore. So I think that's something really big to watch out on, and probably something we'll unpack a little bit deeper maybe next week. Massively. All right, guys. Well, thank you for your time this morning. Mark, anything else you wanted to add before we finish off today?
Have a beautiful day.
Have a beautiful
Go
day.
hard,
Enjoy the
everyone. Go
weather.
hard.
Go hard. That's it. All right. See you guys. Have a great day. Thanks for
See ya.
listening.